All right. So you're asking about prerequisites, right? So prerequisites, you don't really need to know something that to start this course. No prerequisites, but having programming knowledge, basic programming knowledge is good enough to start. If you're completely new to programming, then you may have some difficulty to understand the code, even though you'll start with Python basics.
Okay.
And when I say
Yeah.
programming basics, it not to be just Python, it can be any other programming language.
Okay. So, my concern is I'm good. I am good in, I have some knowledge in coding and all, but how about this mathematics and statistics? Like,
Right.
how vast we are going to touch base that in this course? Because I am just weak in those contents. So, yeah.
Hmm. We're going to have some 3 or 4 sessions on mathematics and statistical basics, but it is you can better understand the concepts when we start by taking, like, basically what I do is, let's take we have something called ROC curve, right? And AU-ROC curve, area under ROC. So this is more correlated to calculus. You can see this is an AU-ROC curve example, right? So the purpose of calculus is to understand or to calculate, let's take area under I mean to say under an irregular shape. You can see that this is an irregular shape, isn't it?
Mhm.
Let me take a paint. So if it has a predefined form, obviously it has a predefined formulas, right? Let's consider this is a square, even though it is irregular, but consider this is a square. Let's uh, if this is a square or rectangle or this square, we have predefined formulas to calculate their area. What if it is something like this, and you have to calculate the area underneath it? That is when the calculus comes in. So when I say all the mathematics and statistics concepts will be covered, uh, I don't mean that all the basics will be covered under mathematics and statistics basics sessions. It can be even covered in ML internals in the later part of the course. So all the mathematical and statistical concepts will be covered by the end of the course, right?
Okay.
So, like I mean to say, like basics we will cover in the mathematics and statistics section, and that will take around 3 to 4 sessions. And the advanced concepts we will directly see the implementation. I mean, where we're going to use it in machine learning or deep learning.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right. So we'll see the content, and then if you have questions, you can raise it. You can unmute yourself at any point of time, not to wait till the end of the session to ask questions. And this is a demo session. Don't hesitate to ask any questions. Like some of you may feel to hesitate whether to ask this question or not. So don't hesitate to ask such question. No, even if it is silly, that's fine. You can ask questions. So we'll start with Python. And as I just now told you that it does not require, no, not to have any prerequisites to start this course, as long as you have some basic programming knowledge, irrespective of the programming language that you use. Like it could be Java or C, C++, Ruby, or it could be JavaScript. It could be any other language. It could be any programming language. And we're going to start with Python basics. When I say Python basics, we're going to start with operators. Let me show you a script so that you'll have an understanding what I mean. So DS, one sec. Yeah, here it. DS9
Sir,
Python.
I have one more question if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
So, see, what I heard about Genai is little bit in the market. So why I'm here is because of this ongoing transformations in the corporate world, right? So I'm here basically to know what is Gen AI and other stuff. So,
Yeah.
what is this course about? Is this a programming stuff in the Gen AI, or is this like how to use the Gen AI? What is the basic structure of this course is going to help us? Is to
Mm.
automate something or something? Because I know just basics in this stuff.
Okay. What is your current role?
I am a manager.
Okay. Do you have any technical background?
Yes, I have been working like since many years on mainframes coding.
Okay. So, all right. So you're good at me. Okay, fine. You have some technical expertise, right?
Yeah.
So this particular course is going to be on generative AI, but this is going to include machine learning and deep learning basics too. So because we want to start a course without any prerequisites. Usually the core generative AI courses, they start the course with an assumption that they have good amount of knowledge in machine learning or deep learning. But this
Okay.
particular course does not require any prerequisites. We'll start with machine learning basics. Around 1.5 months, we'll work on machine learning and deep learning basics. And then we will move on to generative AI. And then to production cycle. I mean, to say CI/CD cycle and all.
Okay. So the Gen AI, whatever we are talking, right?
Mm.
Is this like where do we use that in
Mm.
our real life?
Okay, so someone, I think they're also asking another question. LLM models, do we build LLM models? Yes, it's part of generative AI. And your question, so where do we use it? You can build chatbots. You can build, interfaces wherein they can ask Q&A, or it could be even text summarization or text generation. There are a lot of other stuff. Let me show you like what are all the domains that we cover. Um, generative AI. Yeah, backend, right? I think I have it somewhere here. Not this one. I have a list of thing like the domains and all. You may have it. Yeah, here it is. You can see sentiment analysis, text summation, text classification, text generation, text to text in the sense it could be even translation, token classification, conversation, yeah, conversation. This is kind of chatbots. So these are all the
So
topics that we cover. Yeah.
can we say something like ChatGPT is based on Gen AI?
It is a generative AI solution.
Okay.
It's generative AI solution, but the free version does not encourage you to add images or videos. The free version is a large language model, whereas
Mhm.
the full version, the paid version, is a generative AI solution.
Okay. So using this knowledge on Gen AI,
Hmm.
can I convert the code from one programming to another programming language?
Yeah, there is a dedicated subsection subdomain in generative AI that is code interpreter, code interpretation. So what this does is like we already have open source models
Okay.
like Olama. Olama has its own dedicated model for Python, and for the remaining language, it has its own model, but it is more generalized for all other programming languages. And there are a number of like even we can use OpenAI API. And code interpretation is only part of generative AI, not everything.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. That's all.
Any other questions? So those who are completely new to generative AI, so I think someone raised this question, right? Is going to have LLM models or not? Putting any sort of text to image models, yes, but text to image models, especially open source, are not up to the mark that you can take it and directly deploy to production. So it's the course, even though it's generative AI, it's predominantly based on LLM models, large language models. That when I say large language models, it's text based. When you provide input in the form of text, you're going to get the output in the form of text. You're going to see, the images and videos too, but the output of it right now, the whatever the models, even that includes OpenAI models, are not up to the mark, and you're not going to take those models and use it in production. So we are going to, in simple words, if your question is, are we building any sort of text to image models? Yes, We are going to see Hugging Face models. We're going to see OpenAI. We're going to see Google Gemini too, and Perplex. There is another one, Perplexity or something. We're going to see a lot of other platforms too, Perplexity, right? Even this will accept images, but these are not up to the mark. I mean to say that these are not going to give reliable solutions. But when it comes to text, there are very good models that are highly accurate. I hope I answered your question. So who asked this question? Yashwant. Is that clear? Or you have any further questions on it? Yeah. So when we say generative AI, it could be, the input could be text or image or video, and the output could be text or image or video. This is the whole area of generative AI. So if you provide some input uh, in the form of text or image or video, it has to generate any required format. It could be text or image or video. But image output, no, input as image or video or output as image and video are not really up to the mark, and you're not going to get highly accurate output. We don't have models that are good enough to produce 100% accurate or near to 100% accuracy. But text to text models are really good. We call it as large language models. The reason why we call it as initially we used to call it as NLP, natural language processing. But these models are like in terms of size, I'm telling you, these models are very less. I mean to say, the size of the models are very less. It could be 2 gigs or 3 gigs or 4 gigs, not more than 4 gigs. But LLMs are huge. Even the open source Llama models are up to 150 gigs. And this again, demands GPU, good amount of GPU. So these are not easy to implement in production unless you have right infrastructure. Of course, you can use cloud, but again, that is also expensive. So you need to communicate to a client with all these trade-offs, right? I think most of you have questions related to generative AI. So let me straight away get into generative AI, and then I will discuss the topics that we're going to have in this course. And this course is going to be around 2 to 3 months, and usually 1 to 2 hours a day. And the content, I think I already shown you how to get the content. Again, let me show you this. Ashok IT. Just search for Ashok IT, click on that, and click on course offering, and click on data science section, and click on generative AI. This course costs 15,000, and you need to click on this download course content link button to get the content. Okay. And let me get into generative AI. So let me explain you how things are right now. I'm going to just exclude generative AI at least for now, but how things were a year or 2 years ago, and how things got changed, right? Let's see the evolution. So earlier it used to be like, of course, still we have hardware, right? And they build kernels. Basically, the hardware can understand only zeros and ones, isn't it? So when it can understand only zeros and ones, it is, it's very difficult to provide input to the hardware and get the required output. It's not impossible, but it is very difficult and time consuming. So that is when the kernels came in. So kernels simplify the whole thing, in the sense that you can give a human, instruction. I mean to say, the way you and I speak. So let's take PowerShell, right? Here I'm going to give ls. So it's going to list out the files and folders it has, or directories it has. But I'm not giving the input in the form of zeros and ones, and I haven't got the output in the form of zeros and ones. I can easily interpret it. Kernel is a kind of software that will help us to give these sort of instructions and get the output in a human interpretable language. But shell is an interface. Like this is a shell. This is an interface, the cartridge interface, right? So in even in Linux and Unix, we call it straight away we call it as shell, whereas in Windows we call it as command prompt. This kind of shell, right? And PowerShell. PowerShell is the new addition to Windows. New in the sense it's almost 10 years old. But shell is basically interface that interacts to kernel so that we can provide human-like instructions. Human interpretable instructions, input or output, and that in turn is going to interact to the hardware, right? And even shell, some of you may have difficulty to interact with. If we want to simplify it even more, we can come up with applications and utilities. Here we have a calculator. But can we use calculator in shell? Of course, but it's difficult. Whereas if we have a kind of app like this, a Windows app or a web app, right? Then it's going to be much easier, right? Even for a non-technical user, they not to know the syntax at all. They can straight away use the application. That is where this application comes in. So the whole idea of application is to simplify even more applications and utilities. Google.com is a web page, is a search engine, right? That's an application. And utilities like, calculator, it's an utility that will help you in something. But application is, it's like a wholesome, at least to a certain extent. So applications, but the problem with application is it is difficult to build applications or even utilities. You need to know the complex programming languages like C, C++, Java, or even SQL, right? And to deploy it even more difficult. And we need to know, you need to be good at DevOps. You need to know the whole CI/CD cycle. That's not going to end there. Like you need to have good, you need to have cluster, deploy it in production. So, and again, if it is microservices, you need to manage all the containers or pods. So it is like building application utility is not easy. You need to have good understanding of one of the programming languages or a bunch of programming languages or stack, we call it as mean or mon, you might have heard that, right? So we need to be good at these programming languages. Like, you might have heard Java full stack developer or front end developer, back end developer kind of, right? But it is, building application is complex. Still, it is complex. And many organizations still follow the same approach. I think you don't have any questions up to here. If you have any questions, let me know. Then I'm going to take you to LLM. I'm going to explain you how things are going to be simplified. So you have any questions up to here? We can consider this as a traditional approach, even though we are still in transition phase, moving to like traditional to modern. Any questions on this? All right, so we'll move on to the LLM. So I will explain like how this LLM or generative AI is going to solve the problems. Let's take that you want to build, like you want to generate, let's take that you have a utility, right? Um, I'm looking for a good example. Okay, so I will do one thing. So let's take that you want to generate a program that generates and that's going to print out Fibonacci numbers, right? Or any other. It could be take 1 second. Yeah. So write a program, write a Java program that prints Fibonacci numbers. Here you can see that it is giving me the syntax, the complete syntax, isn't it? So earlier it used to be that you have to know the programming language, only then you can write the program. Now, even if you know the basics in Java, so you not to be an expert, you not to be a Java programming expert, right? You can use of generative AI, and you can copy the code and use it in your application. That is where like generative AI comes in. So if generative AI is going to be a handy tool that will help you to generate the code, right? So just knowing the basics of Java programming is good enough to start it, right? You can build, instead of just focusing on Java, you can even expand your skills to Python or JavaScript or any other, right? Earlier, you used to work only on one application. Now you can expand your skill to many other applications. Let's take 4 or 5. Recently, a news came in that Infosys is about to, or I don't know, but they sacked 70,000 employees because of generative AI. What they have done is, like, let's take that they have some 40, 50 members team. Okay. Let's take 40, 50 member team. So 40 or 50 members who are working on, who are working on various applications. Let's take Java, full stack, and a SQL developer, and a database administrator, and a DevOps engineer, right? Let's consider that we have not just consider that this is one application. Another 20, 30 members to another application. I'm explaining you, like, how why there are a lot of people losing their jobs. Okay, there's another second application. It's a it's a huge team, isn't it? So just to maintain one application, we need 40, 50 members. Obviously, it's going to be expensive. It's quite expensive to afford the whole team, right? Only medium scale or large scale industries can afford a whole team to build the application and to support it thereafter. So with the help of generative AI, just knowing the basics of, like, earlier, you need to be good at Java, right? And then you need to be good at SQL, and you need to spend at least 3 to 4 years, and then database administration, and then DevOps engineer. So you have various people who are expertise in each of these tech stacks. Right now, with the help of generative AI, just knowing the basics of Java, SQL, database administration, DevOps, you can manage it with the help of generative AI. So you can generate the code in Java for Java, and you can generate SQL code too. Let's take that, right? Give me SQL code to generate a table that has employee ID, employee name, and employee salary with some limit, even though it's not required. But this is generating a code, isn't it? Of course, this is a simple one, but it can be even more complex. I mean, let's take that you want to join 3 or 4 tables on a certain column based. You can even generate code. Let me generate a more complex SQL code. Write a SQL code that joins, I'm going to say HR table, HR employee and operations table that has employee ID as common column between HR and employee, and op ID between employee and operations table. You can see that it starts generating the code with some assumptions that these are the columns. We can easily customize that, but it can generate more complex code. So in this obviously reduces the burden on the developer, right? Then they're going to spread for the whole application. So rather than looking for a Java developer, SQL developer, and database administrator and DevOps engineer as a separate resources, they're going to look for one resource, or like let's 2 or 3 member team that can manage or build or maintain the whole application. The same way for other applications too, right? So it depends on how complex the application is. We need more and more members. If it is simple application, obviously it's going to require less members. So that is the reason most of the people losing their jobs. Okay, right now we are using generative AI as a handy tool, that will reduce, shrinks the whole team from, let's say, 40, 50 members to 4, 5. And future, things are going to be even more murky. I mean to say, he's going to replace the whole OS, so that user, no one need to know any programming language or any technical stuff. You can directly speak like the way you and I interact. The LMOS will help, to take our speech or text or images or videos, and it's going to give the required output. We haven't reached that stage yet, but next 4, 5 years, this is the situation. This is the case that whatever the case that I explained is going to be applied. Whereas next 10 to 20 years, it's going to come. They're going to come up with LLM OS, which is going to complete takes out the technical expertise in any stack you look at. Right? Any questions on this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. If you have any further questions, let me know. So this is an important topic that most of you have questions around. So why we are a lot of people losing their jobs in an IT industry? What exactly generative AI is? How things are going to be next 4, 5 years? How things are going to be next 20, 10, 20 years? Even if it takes another 20, 30 minutes, that's fine. Please raise questions on this.
Yeah. So my question is, so as a generative AI developer, what we will do? Okay.
Yeah, I think
So
someone raised the same question.
yeah,
Looks like you have joined just
yeah.
now.
I have joined late actually. Okay. So
Yeah. So,
why I'm asking this question? From I'm taking the reference from your example right now. You
mm,
are saying that we write some statement, and from that statement, ChatGPT or any other model will
mm,
give you the complete solution, right? But as a
mm.
generative AI developer, what we will do actually in what we
Right.
develop, right?
So there are two ways to look at it. Of course, ChatGPT, if there is a solution provided by ChatGPT, what is the need of you being a generative AI? Why industry need a generative AI engineer or generative AI specialist, right? The reason
Yes,
is simple, that not generative AI, ChatGPT or Google Gemini or any other solution you see, right? Those solutions are not customized based on whatever the industry, whatever the data that a particular organization has. It is the data, like those solutions are for more generic data. Let's take that organization has some amount of data and they want to build a chatbot that answers questions related to that particular set of data. Do you think that organizations will provide, will provide the data to OpenAI and expect a solution? No, you need to build solution for it. I hope I answered your question. Of course, there are many
yeah,
layers to it.
correct.
And
So
another, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
chart. So from your answer is chart GPT Gemini give you a generic solution, right?
Right,
Uh,
exactly. So even
but for yeah,
Hugging Face and other models, open source Llama models, or means there are a lot of other models that give generalized solution. You need to fine tune it. You need to fine tune to according to your own need,
right. According to the
according to the data
client,
that you have.
yeah,
Exactly.
the client need. So that's why we require generative AI developer to uh, provide a solution on it, right?
Even it could be a generalized AI. They may expect a generalized AI solution implementation, right? So let's take that they want to make use of the OpenAI API, and you need to write the code. So you need to be right. So someone still required code. A non-technical
Mhm.
person can't handle and can't produce a generative AI end-to-end solution. Still,
Okay, okay. So, sir, here I want to give one example. Right now, I'm working with some. I'm working as an Android developer. Okay,
sorry, what? What developer?
I'm an Android developer. Okay,
Okay,
so basically, what we do, we provide the solution. We create an application for client specific requirement. Right
okay.
now, in future, as a generative AI developer, we'll provide a LLM model and provide the model or we provide the algorithm that will
Mm,
solve the client problems. Right.
Right. But one thing that you need to remember is anything
Yes.
that has pattern in it, we can
Okay.
generate models. Leave
Right.
about machine learning or LLM model, whatever the models. When we say AI, it has to have certain pattern. If it doesn't
Okay.
have an internal pattern, then it is not possible to generate a model. Then again, you need to go back to the traditional programming approach,
Okay.
right? Yeah, go ahead. Uh,
Yeah, that's it, sir. That's it from my
uh,
side. Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Prashant, I'm aspiring be AI engineer. Can I get a job as a fresher? Yes, again, depends on how much knowledge you have, and you don't really require certifications on any tech stacks. But it all depends on how well you face the interview, right? Compared to experienced guy, obviously you're going to get less pay, but you can. And generative AI is quite new, and it's not difficult to get through generative AI, even being a fresher. And are we bringing so okay? I think that question already been answered. Mm. Yeah. Any other questions? And one more thing that you like what kind of solutions you build. So in the text to text or generative AI, there are a lot of subdomains to it: question answering, sentiment analysis, text summarization, text classification, text generation, text to text, or it could be translation. Or it could be even formal to informal, informal to formal text translation. There are a lot of subdomains. It's not just chatbot. It's not like OpenAI chatbot kind of solution, right? You need to be in a position to build APIs wherein someone feeds input in the form of text, and then that will summarize, or it's going to generate data. Okay, and we're going to see end to end, but when it comes to front end, we're going to manage with Streamlight or Gradio. But those are not, those front ends only for demo purposes. Again, that require technical expertise to build a full-fledged advanced front ends using React and other tools, other stack. Um,
Sir, one
extending,
question.
yeah,
Uh, just like we have Eclipse, right? We have Eclipse ID, we have Android Studio. These are the IDEs that we use to perform work, right? Actual
right,
code we written in that ID.
right.
So in generative AI, what ID we have used means what kind of
Hmm.
sort of platform we have used for writing a code or
So,
creating models.
yeah, so to create models, the best IDs are Jupyter Notebook
Okay,
and Visual Code, uh, and then we have a PyCharm.
by chance.
Yeah, so these three tools we frequently use. So if it is a script kind of .py extension, we use Visual Code or PyCharm. If it is, if you're looking for input and output to be displayed on the screen, I mean to say in sequential order, we go with the Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook is like we can use it till like wherein we can generate the model, but there are a lot of other steps apart from generating the model, building pipeline and all. That is when we use this Visual Code or any other and or PyCharm or any other ideas.
So are we going to learn all these things in this course?
You mean to say the tool that we use or the code?
Tool. I'm also talking about the tools.
Yes, you will understand the tool. Let's take that Jupyter Notebook itself. On day one, I will explain you how to install Python, Anaconda,
Okay.
and then I will explain how to open Jupyter Notebook, and then I will explain the shortcuts that we can use it in Jupyter Notebook and the ID for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll start explaining the scripts. Then we'll start the Python basics. That's how we start.
Okay.
And Visual Code, obviously, I'm going to explain the IDE when then it's necessary. So we'll go through this Visual Code in the deployment phase at the end of the course.
Okay.
Whereas
So
Jupyter Notebook
yeah,
will start
my expectation
day
is
one.
to how to we start uh, application from scratch and how to deploy to use uh,
Yes.
yeah, like this.
So we're going to see examples in AWS and Google too, GCP too, but we're going to focus more on Azure. If you look at the content, it's more focused on Azure because data related solutions are moving towards Azure rather than AWS or GCP. So if you look at this generative AI, I mean, it's Azure. So you can see that AKS cluster, ACR, SQL, like this part, like we are going to focus more on Azure. But you will see one example each in AWS and GCP. At least Azure, it's going to be around 3 to 4 projects.
Okay, basically deployment stuff
Yeah,
is in a Azure part.
yeah. Deployment is going to be on Azure part. Azure CI/CD, we're going to see that.
Okay.
And we're going to have, I mean, on-premise solutions. On-premise solution in the sense you can build solutions in your own thing, end-to-end, in your own system. Usually in production, it is server, right? But in your lab machine, obviously, it's going to be your own personal system. I'm a fresher. Okay, I'm from for MLOps, which could we are using. Okay, it's Azure predominantly. One example each in GCP and AWS. But again, it's not MLOps. I can say in Azure, yes, it's MLOps. See, complete CI/CD cycle, we're going to see it in Azure. What is the duration of this total course? It's going to be 2 to 3 months and 1 to 2 hours per day, Monday to Sunday. I think the previous, like whatever the batch that we already started, they requested for Sunday off, so we have accepted to it. So it's right now it is Monday to Saturday, but I prefer to have continuous sessions, right? I think I answered all of your questions. So shall we get into the topics that we're going to have in this course? And it does not, you don't really need to know to start this course. We're going to start with machine learning basics, machine learning algorithms, and then deep learning basics. Let me show you an example so that you can have a good understanding. Like these scripts are going to be like this. So let's take, I want to set an unset index, and the script like this is going to be provided, right? And if it is .py extension is going to be like this. We're going to explain the code line by line, and some of you who are completely new to programming, they may baffled up just by looking at the code, but don't worry, you need to put more effort if you're completely new to programming. Those who are has some knowledge in programming, they're not too bothered about this code. So we are going to start with Python basics, and then we'll slowly transition to this phase. So they can easily be able to execute the code or customize in the sense, again, depends on how complex the problem is, right? At least they will be in a position to understand the code and implement end-to-end solution by the end of this course. And we'll start with Python basics. When I say Python basics, the detail content being given here. These are the topics that we're going to cover up to here. And there will be one project each on Excel, Power BI, and Tableau to understand data analysis. Apart from having a project in AWS and GCP. Azure is, we are going to discuss in detail. The complete CI/CD cycle will be implemented in Azure. And the same process you can, can be, and the process flow is going to be same in AWS and GCP also. And this is the detailed content. And I have not written the title as such, but I have given a picture, image, when you can refer it. Like it's say these are Python contents that we're going to cover in this course. And then it's NumPy. NumPy is another library for numerical analysis. And Pandas is for, again, data analysis. 70 to 80% of data analysis, we're going to use Pandas. In fact, the current batch, we started Pandas. This is the Pandas section. And Pandas itself will take around 4 to 5 sessions, at least week, I can say. And Matplotlib and Seaborn offer visualizations. Even though you can use Tableau and Power BI, if you are looking for a Python free open source libraries, Matplotlib and Seaborn are good solutions. Seaborn has been built on top of Matplotlib, but it is difficult to generate a visualization in Matplotlib, whereas Seaborn, it can generate quick and very attractive visualizations. So you have to use both. For customizations, for configuration changes, you can use Matplotlib. For attractive visualizations of quick visualizations, you can use Seaborn. So these two are basically for visualization. These two are basically for numerical and data analysis. Python, of course, it's all built using Python programming language, right? So we need to understand the Python basics. And we'll get into mathematics and statistics. Mathematics, statistics basics will go brushed up, but in detail, some of the concepts may not be part of mathematics and statistics section, but those concepts will be part of machine learning template and internals. I think someone asked this question, mathematics and statistics, those who feel very difficult to understand mathematics statistics, you need not to really bother much, but I request you to focus on the implementation part rather than going too in detail. But even though we will discuss mathematics statistics in detail, but don't really bother much on the intricacies of it. So try to focus more on implementation, at least in the initial 1 or 2 years, right? And deep learning basics, let me show you like how the nodes are going to be. Jupyter notebooks you have seen, right? And that's it. Not here. Yeah, DL. Not this one. DL. Yeah, deep learning basics. For DL basics, DL basics itself, it is around 200 pages. You can see step-by-step thing. And we have CNN, convolutional neural network for computer vision images and videos, and RNN. Okay, so most of I will provide at least 90 to 95% notes to you, like you know to prepare the notes, but some of it like you need to prepare on your own. I'll provide all the scripts like Jupyter Notebook kind of, or scripts in this form that I showed you earlier. Like, where is it? Where is Visual Code? Yeah, kind of scripts like this, or it could be even a PDF. PDFs like this, or it could be even a notepad, simple text notepads, right? Let's take the mathematics. I think I have here. Where is maths? Where is it? Yeah, advanced mathematics and statistics. Let's check advanced statistics. You can see sample techniques. I'm going to provide some notes in this form too. Okay. Fine. So any questions up to up to here?
Prasad, yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
So do we require any prerequisite to attend this course, sir? Like Python and other scripting level?
Yeah, I think this question been raised earlier too. So you don't require, in order to know anything to start this course, except that you have to have some programming background, programming knowledge. You not to be an expert in data structures, algorithms, and design patterns, but basic programming skills good enough to start this course. Yeah, a fresher can start this course.
All right. Thank you.
And then, okay, so any other questions?
That course is under AI, like prompt engineer or?
Prompt engineering is part of generative AI. So once we build the solution, there is something called you need to provide prompts in an effective manner. Especially, let's take OpenAI, right? It provides an API, and it's going to cost you a bit, like $20 per month. Again, it has its own limitations in terms of tokens, the number of words or number of phrases that you send or receive. So, like when it's been calculated, when it's been priced based on the word or the phrases that you sent or receive, obviously you need to be effective in writing the input, right? You need to write the minimal text, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So in such case, you need to be good at prompt engineering. So you need to know how to write prompts well. That is like, so prompt engineering is basically to write programs in an effective manner, which is again a subdomain or subsection of generative AI. Again, generative AI is subsection of artificial intelligence.
Okay. So in that part, we need to do the programming. Like we have to do something like create the
Yes,
API or all these things. So we need programming language.
exactly. So it's predominantly Python based, right? Not, it is not limited to Python. We can even implement using C++, Java, JavaScript, right? There are other languages too you can use, even Scala in the case of database Spark. We can use other languages too, but Python is predominantly been used. So 90 to 99%, 95 to 99%, I can say that requirement is on Python, not on any other programming language. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Actually, just I want to know that what would be the scope for that in coming days, like where it is used exactly. So I am as a Java developer,
Okay.
so I can move on that.
Right. So that's exactly how we started, in fact, on generative AI. So I explain what is a hardware, a kernel, the shell, and the application utilities. And then I moved on to another image where things are going to be next 10 to 20 years. I think you have not, I mean, so when did you join the session? In fact, I
Yeah,
explained that part.
okay. Actually, I have joined that 10 and 15 minute back.
Yeah, so explain in detail that particular topic. I think I have taken around 10 minutes to explain that question.
Mhm.
So how things are right now, how things were, and how things are going to be next 4 or 5 years, and how things are going to be next 10, 20 years. If you don't
Yeah,
mind,
you
as it
can,
takes time,
if you want, you can share that video link so
this
that I
particular,
can.
yeah, the record, it is getting recorded. So once the session has been completed, it will get shared to the WhatsApp group, and the WhatsApp group link has been posted in chat. So look at it.
Okay,
It's
yeah,
that,
sure. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Join the WhatsApp group. They will post you the link once session has been completed. Maybe they'll post it and then at the end of the day.
yes,
So
sure.
please don't mind that the question that you have asked, it will take around 10 to 15 minutes. Already
Yes, yes,
explained this.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, welcome. So any other questions?
I have a question
Yeah,
here.
please. Your voice is a bit low. Could you speak a bit loud or make sure that microphone is near
Yeah,
to you?
I'm a Chetharu Padmanabhan. I got gap of 1.5 year actually. Can I able to take this course? Actually,
Uh,
I have 12 plus years of experience, but I got a gap of one and a half year actually due to recession and some salary. They are going to give very less salary, so I cannot able to join like that. If I learn this artificial intelligence, it could be helpful for me, or how it could be, or
uh,
how.
these are two different aspects. Generative, basically, if there is a requirement, obviously they're going to look at how good you are in generative AI or any other tech stack you have applied. And when it comes to gap, uh, again, you need to communicate to them. Let's take that. Usually, the way we manage this gap is basically like when they ask you question like why there is a gap of 1 to 1.5 year or 2 years or 3 years, women can easily manage it because let's say that they can say that they got married and they are not accepted to you know work
Uh,
in the industry, and later they have accepted. Kind of, they can give an explanation like that. But for men, you can say that you are doing, yeah, you want to have your own initiative, and then you tried for 1.5 year, it didn't work out. Kind of answer you can give, like you kind of explanation you can give to wherever you have applied.
yeah,
I hope I answer your questions. You
yeah.
can manage it, but again, whether they will accept it or not, it's all depends on them. Again, the key aspect is how good you are in the tech stack or the stack that you have applied for.
Yeah.
Let's take in this case it's generative AI, so you should be damn good at generative AI. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Any other questions? And please don't hesitate to ask questions. Like even if it's silly, that's fine. After all, it's a demo session.
Sir, do we have any AI and ML courses which has been started by you or any other?
So this is basically an AI course. with specialization on generative AI. So we are going to spend 1.5 month on machine learning and deep learning, and then as specialization, like we are going to pick, we have picked generative AI. There are other options too, like computer vision, dedicated computer vision engineer, or reinforcement learning, or time series analysis. Time series, and again financial data or stock data. So it'll come under time series. But this particular course, especially, it's going to be machine learning and deep learning basics. It's going to cover all the basics of it. Apart from it, it's going to it's going to have generative AI specialization. So there's basically two courses packed together. That is the reason it will take 2 to 3 months.
Okay. So
Right?
basically, it covers deep learning and part of the generative AI.
Generative AI solution. Generative AI is not the only thing, only thing that's part of AI. There are many other alternative domains too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
This course is on generative AI, and even though it's a generative AI advanced course, you don't really require any prerequisites to start this course, because we're going to start with machine learning, and we're going to start with basics without any assumptions.
Sure,
But you have to have some knowledge in programming. That's the only prerequisite, if at all you ask. Even mathematics and statistics, some of you have questions related to it. So don't worry about mathematics and statistics. All the concepts will be explained in as much detail as possible.
Okay.
Right? So
Sir, one question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, after completing this course, and when we apply for the job
Okay.
as a generative AI developer, what will be the role and what will the designation will offer to us?
Yeah, as you said, generative AI engineer or AI engineer, and most when they say AI specialization, even if it is AI specialization generic term, you can apply for it,
Yeah.
because most of them are looking for generative AI solution, right?
Right.
So what is the other question you have asked?
Because there is there is a AI, then there's a deep learning, and that there is a generative AI, right?
Okay, basically AI is the mother of all.
Yeah, AI is a mother of all. Then there's a deep learning. In that deep learning, there is a one of the part that is a generative AI.
Right. But the way the industry look at is different.
Okay.
So you can see that, let me explain with an example. Maybe it would take 5 to 10 minutes. So let's take that you take a Tesla car, right? So Tesla car is an AI solution, isn't it?
Yes.
So it has, even though it's not fully automated, but it has most part of it is automated. Automated in the sense it has a deep learning model in it that can guide the whole system. I mean, when I say system, in this case, it is car. So machine learning is like a brain. So let's take that a car, which has a camera. Of course, it's not just one sort of camera. It has a bunch of sensors. Right? You don't think that when I say camera, it's not typical camera. It could be a typical camera, or it could be any other sensors too, to calculate distance and other things. So it takes the input from sensors, right? It takes input from sensors, and then it feeds that data. This is the data, right? Input data. The model. And this model will give instruction, like output or instruction.
Right.
So let's take that in this case, red light has been blinked, right? Then the immediately sensor catches that, and it tells the model, and the model give instruction that the car has to stop. Okay, and then the whole the machine learning model can only give an instruction. It can only tells you that to stop. But the whole ecosystem, the whole need to build in a way that whenever an instruction called stop comes in, it has to stop. It has to halt. Let's like a human body. A brain tells you, go straight or stop when red light blinks in, right? But it's your body that need to act to the brain instruction. So machine learning model or deep learning model is like a brain. It can only give instruction. But the whole ecosystem, we call it as AI.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So typically in industry, when we say AI, it not be a robo, or it could not be a car like Tesla. it not to be a rocket, right? But it usually be a web application wherein they take the model and they embed that in a web application. So even that is also an AI solution. I hope you got the point.
Yes.
So if you have questions on it, let me know.
Yeah. So my question is, I mean,
I've
what
seen
I
a
want to
slight
ask,
hesitation. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, the question is like, what will be the designation after this course? What designation will offer?
So, yeah, generative AI. So you need to apply for generative AI engineer or generative AI specialist.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to explain is like how things are in the industry. When we say artificial intelligence specialist
Yes.
or generative AI specialist, there are many other alternatives too. You need to understand the whole thing. And when we say like machine learning, basically here it is deep learning part of machine learning, but industry, deep learning and machine learning are two different things.
Okay.
Okay. When we say generative AI, basically generative AI is going to use the deep learning approach, not the machine learning approach.
Okay.
Right. And there are like a data scientists. Data scientists, when they say data scientists, mostly they prefer Databricks or Hadoop or Pig, Hive, Excel, Power BI, Tableau. Even though we have projects one on Excel, Power BI, and Tableau each, this is not data science course. This is a generative AI course.
Yes.
I hope you got the point now.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
So the solutions, when it comes to solutions, you're going to build solutions like sentiment analysis, summarization, language model. It could be a chatbot. It could be image to text, a kind of solution. It could be a token classification. And again, for each subsection, you need to know the fine tuning part too. And some of the like we're going to see some of these domains with fine tuning solutions, right? And there are some subdomains, but if you don't understand this, that's fine. We'll understand it in detail once we get into the course. But any questions?
Yes,
Yes.
actually, what happened? You are explaining all these things. It's good. Like we are getting the ideas, but instead of that, like if you are giving that demo something related to AI, so it will be clear like where it is used, that AI or all these things. Is it possible or?
Right now, basically for every project you take, right? So we need to we need to set up the environment, and then we need to build solution, and then we need to build like the whole end-to-end solution, and then we need to use the cloud to deploy it. So this whole thing need a setup. So basically, you are expecting a kind of solution. Like if you are looking for a solution, you can build a solution like this. With a very
No,
similar
actually,
interface.
what happened?
Hmm.
I got it your point, but I'm not clear right now, like related to AI. So
Right.
just I want to like we are doing some program, something, so we are getting some output. So
Right.
what we are expected that okay, we are writing that program for adding that numbers. So we are getting that like 5 or 6 adding that number. So just I want to in that way we need some demo something so that we can clear okay, that is the AI
A demo,
generative
demo,
AI
demo from project perspective or from the concept perspective?
concept perspective. Like,
Oh, okay, fine. So let's take an example. Regular expressions, this may not be the complete one. Let's take, here we have a table, isn't it? So don't worry about the code. Here we have a table
yes,
wherein
yes.
we have two columns, country and name. But this is not clean. You can see that some numbers been added, but even though these are country names, basically the data here is not clean. It's dirty. Some hash has been added and all. So we are going to use pandas and regular expressions to solve that problem. So you can see that here we have, first of all, we have worked on name. It has a movie name and the part number. We have separated into two using extract, and we have supplied regular expressions. So when we get into the course, we will understand regular expressions first, pandas first, and then regular expressions. And then I will explain the code how to get the required output. here, we're going to extract only the numbers so that we will get the movie part. Same way, we can replace this, the whole thing, the underscore and all, so that we can make movie name as separate one and part name as separate, part number as separate one. You can see, yeah, he marked part number as separate one. And even if you look at this data, the country, we can clean it using regular expressions again. Now we can replace numbers, special characters, even capital letters to small letters, or small letters to capital letters, or title case. So the final output is going to be, 1 second, where is it? Show you that. It's part number. Okay, let me take this data. So let me show you the demo right from scratch, rather than looking for the code and
Yeah. You can tomorrow you can give the
don't need
demo.
to wait tomorrow, but this is the demo session, and
Yeah.
after this, we will start the actual sessions.
Yeah.
Import NumPy and import pandas. Right, so here we have movie, isn't it? So let's start with country. So we'll clean up the country first. Movie, country. Don't worry about syntax again. So just as you are expecting some kind of demo without going through basics first. The movie, country, and then I want to replace a number. So /d basically indicates all the integers. Okay, so it's going to be, you can see that the numbers, where is it? So, where is this country? And then find, not to be a group. What happens? So, let me extract the numbers first. Or else we'll do one thing. It's A to G, A to G. And extract, we don't really require that. What happens here? Unterminated character set to position 1. Okay. We can use replace. What went wrong? All right. So str dot replace. And slash capital D. For some reason, it's not cleaned up, surprisingly. It's quite an easy example to clean the data. Basically, what we are trying to do is /d indicates numbers. I'm trying to replace these numbers with blank. Surprising, what went wrong? All right. So this is different. Extract /d, this is also different. Replace, yes. This is also different. And this is extract only, this is different. Here you can see that, yeah, I think this is the part, this part. You can see we have extract only /fran. The remaining part is not being there. So extract is not the right way to do it. So I think I replace with replace one. Yeah, here it is. Let me go with this one. Or else I'll do one thing. So I don't know whether I have or not. Let me show you the previous video that I have recorded. So Here you can see the merge cleaning. You can see that, right? One second. For some reason, the code is not working. I need to look at it, like why it went wrong. But here you can see that France 236, right? Everyone can hear the audio?
No.
Okay. At least you can see it, right? It's actually a previous session that I have recorded.
Yes, we are seeing actually.
Yeah, I think this where so it worked, but here I think for some reason it didn't work over there. I need to look at like why it went wrong, maybe with the version compatibility, but this is the code. You can see that France earlier it used to have numbers and special characters.
Yes.
Now it doesn't have anything, right? It's being cleaned.
Yeah,
So it's
through
actually
that program, we can filter the data in the proper manner, correct?
right. So basically, like we need to not just like once we get the data, make sure you need to look at the data first, understand the data, and then data cleaning, and then feature selection, and then feature engineering. I mean, feature extraction. Let me show you a end-to-end template so that you can understand. Where is it?
So just like that is generative AI is a like mostly data processing kind of programming.
Everything is data related, right? So
Yes.
depends on kind of data and the kind of solution that you look for. So generative AI is going to focus more on text, image, or video. When we provide input in that form, you're going to get output in the form of text, image, or video. So if you are looking a kind of demo, I think this will be the best script. Basically has the end-to-end solution. I mean to say the Docker file and all. Let me show you only the template part. It's going to be like this. So it's going to load the thing. We are going to load the data. You can see the data here. And all the categories, columns, numerical columns, so that the data cleaning will become simplified. If we club both, then it's going to be difficult to handle it. So any negative values, we're going to suppress it with 0. And then we're going to show like we're going to remove duplicates to unnecessary, to remove the unnecessary part of, what happens is like when we have too many duplicate rows or columns, then it's going to add overload to the system. And this part we're going to remove the outliers, and that's how it's going to like only the first block you need to make changes. That is how the script has been made. You can simply go here, run all cells, and can generate a good model. You can see this won't take much time because the data set is less, and if it is large, obviously it's going to take more and more time. You can see that it quickly start building up all these models.
So this script is nothing but the model, right?
This part of machine learning is not deep learning. Again, deep learning we need to have a different set of scripts, and generative AI we have a different set of scripts.
Okay.
It's not like one shot solution to all. Based on the context, based on type of solution, the scripts will get changed.
Okay.
Even if you look at deep learning, right? So deep learning, where is it? The too many, but it's difficult to provide everything in one thing. Again, like before the session, I need to test it whether it works or not, because when version get changed, things may not work in the same way. I need to set up the environment.
Version of what?
Let's take that Python. I have let's take 3.12.
Okay.
And the scripts that I have built maybe on 3.10 or something. So again, we need to test it before we start the session. Otherwise, things may not work and it will throw error.
Okay.
So here, if you have CNN basics and all, right? Let me show you that. So deep learning is altogether totally different.
Okay.
And there are numerous a number of architectures. If you look at this CNN itself, there are many. So the deep learning is going to be like this, and more and more architectures get added, so more and more scripts you get. So you can see that, right? So every batch for every, whenever we start the session, we will test it, or else it will unnecessarily throw errors. Sometimes it even break. I mean to say it may not work completely. So let's take that this particular regression itself. This may not work if I implement it straight away with the commands I mentioned, because the Docker file has its own versions. I expect some thing like, let me show you the requirements.txt file. Where is it? Requirements.txt file. Yeah, here we have. So we need to specifically mention the version. So we should not implement straight away in this form. Again, it depends on Python version we use. If you look at the Docker file, again, it has its own Anaconda 3 version, right? So we need to check the compatibility. That is one problem we always have with the open source solution, unlike Java or any other. So what happens with Java or Visual Studio is the dependency problem, we don't face it much unless it is an external library or external library we interact with, right? Because they provide you as a package. Whereas if it is open source like Python kind of AI solution, that for every library, it is going to be referred to some other organization or startup or group. So they build their own solutions. We need to group all together into one. That is when the whole problem comes in, like dependency issues we come across. That is why even though the solution is right, but something that worked a month ago, it may not work now. I hope you got the point. If you look at, I think we already have a solution. So this has already been built, and you can see 96.4 accuracy, and the remaining models generate 0.67, that is 67%, 95.5%, 96.4%, 90%. So the best model is obviously GB. So it will pick the best model on its own. So we're not to, it's going to save the model on its own. When I say save the model, it's going to get landed in this model. So you can see that it has saved on 20th, right? Today is 20th and 10:18. So it has been saved at 10:18, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. And this model we need to take with the remaining Docker file and all, and need to deploy it in production. That's how it works. Right? So did I answer your question? I think, I don't know, who's that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, I got it.
I think we got deviated from the actual one. Mathematics and statistics also it's not a prerequisite that they're not going to be covered in this. It's going to be covered in this course. So okay, ML templates and internals. Template, I mean to say here, this sort of scripts will be provided to you. So I call it as templates. Template, I mean to say that you can easily use that in production. So you not to worry in sequentialize or build the solution on your own after learning the basics. And once we go through the ML and deep learning basics, deep learning I already shown you the PDFs, right? And the corresponding scripts to it. Here we have the scripts to it. And we'll go through CB and NLP. We're going to focus more on NLP, natural language processing, and LLM and generative AI is an extension to it, like it's advancement to it. Natural language processing is the name that LLM and everything will come under. I mean to say, when I say everything, it is text-based kind of. But what happens is like LLM, size of the models got increased because more data you provide for training, more complex or more bigger the size of the model is. So we start calling it LLM, large language models, because the models are large and it is language based, that is text based. Generative AI is like, it's not just text, it has been extended to images and videos. So that is why we call it as generative AI. So initially start with NLP and then LLM and then generative AI. Generative AI is like is going to have, when we say generative AI, even LLM is part of it. NLP solutions are part of it. Okay. And then we don't go through time series because it's been excluded, but I have to exclude from the content. Time series is not going to be part of the course. And Azure, of course, Azure Basics and CI/CD cycle, we're going to build it in Azure. And MLOps, again, CI/CD cycle, we're going to build it in Azure. Excel, Power BI, and Tableau, we're going to have each project. So that you can understand how to do data analysis, if at all that is your requirement in production, in your organization. Some of you, some of the managers may ask you to build data analysis dashboards, right? That is when the Excel, Power BI, and Tableau comes in. But it is not something that is specific to generative AI. Generative AI, even without Excel, Power BI, and Tableau, you can build solutions. You can use Pandas, NumPy to analyze it. And there are a ton of other libraries to clean and feature engineering or balance the data kind of. Okay, so any questions?
Sir, I have one questions.
Yeah, please.
So, we already have a model, and there are open source model also. So you showed some example, even explained that in case of sensors, and then inputting into model and then giving instructions, right?
Right.
In one example, and in another example, you remove the numbers from the countries in the movie.
Right.
So these things we already have a model, and why we are again reinventing the wheel by again going through the algorithms and checking the patterns and trying to remove some like numbers which we don't want. Our focus should be more on how we can embed the models into different things that can work for us. The
Okay.
focus should be on that, right? Rather, because we already have a model, and it's just a matter of connecting the sensors to the model, so that the models will give a decision for us, and we stop doing manual, sensitizing the data, removing those numbers, those things. If we are doing, then why we need a generative AI?
Okay. I think you are, generalizing the whole thing. I mean, it's not that easy, as you said. First and foremost, let me show you the models itself. And again, this is open source one models. How many types of solutions we have, and types of problems or solutions we have, and the computer its vision itself around 10 to 10, right? And natural language processing we have around 10 to 15. Not just this, and for each of these, again, there are tons of other models. Let's take token classification. There are many models. Again, these models of course, you can use these models right away, again, by testing and finding out which one will fit your need. But what about fine tuning? Again, for fine tuning, fine tuning according to the organizational data. These are generalized models. If it doesn't fit your requirement, organizational need, if something that you need to build a chatbot that answers to the organizational data, right? So those things are not going to be part of these models, right? You need to take these models, you need to consider as foundation model, and then you need to fine tune according to your own data. And even if let's say that you are going to take the model and try to implement it, but how you're going to, you need to write the code, right? You're simply saying that embedding,
Yes.
but embedding that very embedding is not that easy. You need to build the whole API. If you look at this script itself, this simple machine learning, so you need to build the WSGI web server gateway interface, right? And then Docker file, and then you need to deploy it in AKS and CSS cycle, and then you need to prepare you need to have your own requirements.txt file. You need to test it in your own system. You need to test it with Postman. You need to test the API with Postman, and then you will go to CSS cycle, right? The whole flow is not that as easy as you said. You're simply saying that take the model, it's already available, right, and embed it. It's not as simple as you said. There are a lot of intricacies that are involved in it. Okay. It's not that, you go here and download it and yes, the solution is ready. It's not that easy. Basically, what you as a generative engineer do is you're going to build a dedicated API for it. You can't use this, these models straight away implement in the server end side of the web development, web page. You cannot use it because for every Docker file, every container you run, it has to have its own image, right? It's going to take some space. But if every model, like the model is around more than 4 to 5 GB, every container is going to have the model. It's going to take all the space, right? So you need to have separate API for it. Did you get my point?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So it's not as easy as you said. So you have to have a good amount of API knowledge tools to build your own API so that the web developer, even backend developer, should get access to the API, not the model directly. Because if they start implementing the code and embed the model size is too huge. If it is a simple model, that's fine. But if it is more than 3 or 4 gigs, it requires a lot of GPU space, RAM space, and it requires a lot of processing power. And every container it creates with an assumption that it's going to be very similar to the containers that we create for web application. Is not that. It is going to be very difficult. Even in terms of all the resources, all the kinds of resources. I mean to say processing, RAM, and GPU. In web development, usually we don't require GPU, whereas in the case of models, we require GPU. And fine tuning is very important. Organization, according to your own organizational need, fine tuning is important. So you need to customize to the data that is, been in your own organization. And type of solution is not just one or two. There are too many. So it's difficult to even judge what type of domain it falls under. Did I answer your question? I think
Yes, a little bit. Yeah.
many of you have this question might have not asked, but it's a very important question that need to be answered. It's not as easy as you have read somewhere on a web page that you can simply take the model. There are open source models you can simply take and embed it. No, it's not. There are too many intricacies that you have to be good at. Of course, in future things will change. Am I audible to everyone? The session got disconnected due to power outage.
Yes, sir. You're
Okay,
audible.
all right. So any other questions? That's it for today. I think I hope you got a good overview of the contents that we are going to cover in this course. So we'll start with Python and then end up with a complete CI/CD cycle in Azure, and one project each in AWS and GCP. Apart from it, Excel and Power BI and Tableau will have one project on it, if at all. Like in some case, they expect you to build dashboards. So that is when the Excel, Power BI, and Tableau comes in. Okay. Fine. That's it from my end. If you have questions, let me know. Or else you're good to log off.
No, in this
we are
program,
learning.
Yeah, one. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. In this program, how many projects we are running and execution?
Around 10 to total, around machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, total around 10 to 15 projects by the end of the course.
Okay. How long this can be?
2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And 1 to 2 hours per day.
Okay.
Monday to Sunday, but the batch that we already started, even though we started with an intention without any offs, but they requested off on Sunday, so we accepted it. So right now it is Monday to Saturday all day. I'm speaking about the batch that is running. That is
What
currently
time?
going on. This batch starts from 9 a.m. IST. Like the way we started now, this demo. Started at 9 o'clock, right? So the sessions are going to start at 9 o'clock, 9 to 10 or 9 to 10:30 or 9 to 11. But it's very rare to see a session 1.5 or 2 hours. Only advanced concepts or projects will take a lot more time. So usually the basics part, you don't really require more than an hour unless you have questions even after the session, right?
So daily that timing would be like 9 to 10, correct?
Yeah,
Or
usually 9 to 10. It can even spill over to another half an hour or an hour
Mhm.
for projects and advanced concepts. That demands more
Actually,
time.
we are learning that all the concept with that Azure. So Azure, like we can practice on Azure, like in that same way we are practice on the AWS. That will be free.
Yeah, once you know how to build VMs, it's going to be the same flow, except that in Azure DevOps is going to be slightly different. But again, the process flow is going to be the same. The conceptual wise, it's same.
Mhm.
When it comes to
So
cloud,
they will while we are actually log in on Azure registered that Azure like cloud
right?
portals, so will they charge or something for practice
Yes.
or?
Yeah, there are certain, like if you are a first-time user, they will provide you some credit. But again, it has its own limitations. There are certain services that you have to pay for. So expect that at least 5 to 10,000 extra bucks if you want to try it in any cloud. In AWS, it's going to be even more expensive. So I'm giving a max figure. So, but there is a possibility that it spill over even more. Depends on how much time you have used. So
Actually,
it's
how to do the practice on that if we are using the Azure? So
so
we need to spend.
not everything you build in cloud, right? So there are few, like 1 or 2 you're going to build end to end. That is when you require cloud. Otherwise, you can build solution in your own system,
Okay.
right? So 1 or 2, it doesn't cost you much, but it will definitely cost you. But free tie, it has its own limitations. Everything is not free. There are such services you have to pay for, even if you are in free tie. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? If you use cloud, there is every possibility that you have to pay. You'll be in a position to pay 1,000 or 2,000. Depends on how much time you use or what kind of service you use. And if you are a new user, free tier you're using, they will provide a few services at free of cost. But again, depends what kind of service you use. There are like AKS clusters and all, they will definitely charge you. ACR may be free, kind of. Azure SQL, again, they may charge. Again, it will have its own limitations, like, I mean, the amount of time that you spent on. In free time, yes, there are few free minutes they provide you, but not all the services. So yeah, I think I answered your question. So what else? Like, you have any other questions? That's it from my end. If you have questions, let me know, or else you can log off. And please provide your feedback. Like, if you are interested to join the course, please contact Ashok IT. Like, whoever contact you, I think someone sent you a message, right, from Ashok IT to your WhatsApp number. So please contact them if you're interested. Like, the fee is going to be 15,000. And first few sessions, three sessions are going to be free. You can attend it without paying fee. And after that, you can take a call whether you want to continue or not. We'll start with Python installation and the IDE part, and then we'll go through Python basics. That's how we're going to start. So a power outage here, the session may get disconnected any time. So if you have questions, quickly ask. All right. Thanks for joining the session.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.